She who thrives. Phoenix rising. The true me. The ups and downs crazy in life. So take this journey with me. She who thrives. Yeah. Good morning, sunshines, and welcome to She Who Thrives, a podcast about women who have gone and faced different adversities in life and have become successful in their own right. And today I have one of my good friends. I don't say best friends, and we'll explain that in a minute, but one of my good friends, Melva Nieves. Yay! Welcome.
Everyone. Thank you.
I have to appreciate she comes out for an hour drive.
Yeah. Just about.
An hour drive to be on this podcast. You nervous?
A little.
Stop fidgeting.
I'm trying to get closer to this.
Don't be nervous. It's just going to be us just talking. It's just talking about how we always talk. That's it. So don't worry about it. Okay. If I could do this, you can do this too. And I'm just doing this every week. So people see every flaw of mine. So You'll be fine.
Thank you.
So yesterday I was going and trying to figure out a script for you because this was the last minute. I know you didn't want to come on.
No, not really. We talk about a lot of things, but I've always been really reserved.
You're going to have to get closer probably to the mic.
Reserved in things of
Don't
life.
start
right?
crying
No,
either.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. But I'm.
People be like, she's so insensitive when I tell you, don't be crying.
No, it has nothing to do with that. I think it's more so just private, not to. I hurt people's feelings, yes, but in a different way.
You've hurt my feelings, I don't know how many times, but I'm sure I hurt your feelings, I don't know how many times.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as not everyone knows the true story behind my closed doors, right?
So, Melvin, so one of the things I say, I never say the term best friend. I just don't, to me, it just doesn't exist. I used to use that term, but then I just learned over the years, sometimes things can be one-sided, and men can also get involved and no longer have a best friends, and it's just the relationship aspect of best friends shifts, and I just don't believe in that. I believe in really good friends and friends that become family. So that's where it's at. That sometimes I don't want her to be my family. I just want to kick her out of my family circle. But we grew up in the same neighborhood. And see, I've been trying very hard not to use and I hear myself saying it. But anyways, we grew up in the same area, and you've experienced things differently than I did. So the podcast is about women facing different adversities, which I know you've gone through a lot, and then who have become successful in their own right now. I know you don't feel successful. And you and I argue that.
Yeah.
Because I know you play small. And I tell you all the time, you play small. Don't kill me, whoever's listening to it, because you're like, how in the world are you telling her this? But
no, and it's true. As far as just not accepting the things that I have overcome and where I'm at, being who I am, the type of job that I have. My kids might not think so, but the mother that I am to them, coming from, how can I put it, not giving them certain, maybe I'm not emotionally the best mother, but it was like giving them everything I never had, right? And being able to do that.
Financially and materialistically.
Yes, and busting my ass to do it, right? In a sense, was showing them love. But being able to every day smooch up to them, give them a kiss or a hug.
You couldn't do that.
I couldn't.
But you and I talk about that.
Yeah.
A lot of the times you couldn't do that with your kids because you didn't have that from your own parents. But you were able to do it so you have 3. You are not capable of doing, you're capable, but you don't do it with your oldest two, but you can do it with the little one.
Yes.
So we talked about that.
Yes.
But a lot of the times, is our childhood trauma, of course. And one of the things that we did talk about yesterday was you were a product of a teenage mom.
Correct.
Do you want to explain that?
So my mom was 16 when she had me, and my father was 35. And
Question with that: your grandparents never wanted to do anything to your father for that?
absolutely. Like, yeah.
So how did your father get away with that?
He ran away to New York. Well, my mom ran away with him to New Jersey. So when she came back, she was pregnant. They weren't accepting of it. They kind of disowned her. So there's a long story there. Then my grandmother came around when she started showing and all that good stuff, and was there for her when I was born. But my grandfather didn't speak to her at all till one day he walked in and I was there, and he fell in love with me, and then that's it. I was the light of his eyes from that moment on. But it was a long road for her, and I think me knowing the things that I know now helps me understand her, because I felt I held a lot of grudges, or I felt certain things towards my mother, right? Now that I'm older, parenting is hard. It's hard, right? And your kids will never see your sacrifices. So I could just imagine what she went through at that age. And then my father was an alcoholic, and he was abusive. My mom being 16 and not having two small children, or 17 by that time. She had me and my brother a year apart. And my sisters and brothers were almost her age.
Your sisters and brothers from your father's side?
From my father's side, yeah. And she ended up raising them. So she was just a young mother of 6 kids and children that were teenagers just like her, right?
What's the age difference between your oldest sibling and your mom?
3 years.
Oh, my God.
3. But it's funny that they love my mother now as that's their mom. And if you didn't know, you wouldn't know the difference, right? And I was jealous of that for a very long time, because I feel like she overextended herself. But if anyone knows, my child was also on your podcast.
No, I haven't said that. So if you guys go back to one of the podcasts, it was Desi, which is my assistant. So her first podcast with me, this is her mom. So when she heard that podcast, she kind of felt a certain type of way. And a lot of people were like, well, are you going to get her mom on the podcast to get her side of the story? And I'm like, no, this is not what it's about. Like, I'm not Oprah interviewing people like this, but I guess it stems down to your own past with your mom and your relationship with your mom, and how it just, you didn't realize it until it was said, is what you told me. Right.
And I think too, you're familiar with what you know, right? Or what surrounds you. So maybe my mom was too young to show me all this love and attention and give me hugs and kisses and tell me that she loved me. But as she grew, she did it with my brothers and sisters. And then I seen the great mother she was to them, and maybe it was lack thereof of their mom not being so present. She felt she needed to step up even at such a young age, right? So when I heard my daughter say like, oh, my mom was so good to my stepbrother and sisters, it made me feel some type of way, because I was like,
damn, I did the same thing
my mom did. Yeah. And I don't want to say I don't want to be like her, because my mom is not who she was raising me. She's a totally different person now. She's a great grandmother to my kids, and an awesome, great grandmother to my little one, right? So I got to look at the change that she's made. And
And you and I have talked about that a lot when you get frustrated with your mom and you say certain things. I know I have to remind you, like, she was only 16 when she had you. Like, I mean, no one was really there correcting her. Like, I know you had your grandparents, but she was probably doing her own thing, trying to figure it out. And being at such a young age and being with an older man that way and him being physically abusive towards her, that's a lot at that age. It's us when we're older and going through any abuse, whether it's mental, physical, or anything, it's a lot on us. Can you imagine
absolutely.
someone that young?
Absolutely. And even on top of that, just my father was a womanizer as well, because he was into the bar scene and all that good stuff and being in the streets, right? And my mom tells me stories now, and I've heard other people confirm, like, yeah, your father I wouldn't eat, an example, unless I ate out of my dad's plate. And she would take me to whatever woman's house that he was at, and he would tell her, don't you look at her. You're only here to bring my daughter to eat.
God.
Bitch, please.
Right?
Yeah, no, my child will be starving. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I wouldn't. And so I think about all of it now that I can try to understand it. Unfortunately, after her and my dad separated and got divorced or whatever, I guess she tried to relive those years that she lost out on. And because of that, we paid prices, her children. And that's kind of, I think, the things that I held against her. And she got into drugs and doing different things. And that's her story to tell, right? But those things affected us because she wasn't present anymore. She was a great mom. From what I can remember, my younger years, like taking us to the zoo, doing things like that. And it all stopped once we turned 7. Or I was 7, my brother was 6. It stopped. I became his mom.
And so from 7 to being in teenage years, I know you did certain things in your life to make money, I know she was like, don't be asking me anything that's going to incriminate me. I think that's probably already passed. I don't know if it's the statute of limitations on things, but
Look, we ain't gonna find out either.
you did certain things in life to make money for yourself. And you did that for quite a few years. So we're not going to go into depth of that. But
I'm a great salesperson.
she's a great salesperson.
Yes.
And then you had your kids.
Absolutely, yeah. Well,
And then you went through your own turmoil there because I don't want to say your story, but once you had your kids, what happened there?
well, my 2 older kids' dad was abusive, very, like very abusive, right? So, and you stick through things and you go through this and you don't know why. And you try to make it work because now you have children. And you're like, do I walk away from this? But at the same token, thinking back to it now, it was familiar. And I got out of that situation by the grace of God, I say, because, I mean, there were times where no one knows. Like, I was pregnant for my son with 3 broken ribs, like, he was born with situation. And you wonder, like, did all of this play a role? So it was hard. It was hard, but I got out, left that alone, moved on, got into another relationship. And that relationship was great in the beginning. And then I got married and everything changed. Like the moment I got married, it was like ownership status. The person felt like they owned me. And at that point, a lot of a verbal abuse started. And then from the verbal went into physical as well. And you're like, okay, here I am again. what the hell? Like, am I a magnet to this? And you deal with it. And I think I stood there because I started to feel like, okay, this is what it is. This is what I deserve. This is what I know. I was abused as a child.
Abuse and physically or
Physically by my mom. Well, my mom, I guess she would try to hit us, but overdid it. So
she tried to discipline you, but she just overdid it because she,
like, yeah, she would just lose her shit and wouldn't stop until she saw blood, or we just couldn't take it anymore. And it's like, or she just couldn't hit us anymore, right? It was bad. But you go through these things, and then I got into the relationship, and my second one ended up being the same way. And I think with the kids, having the children, and then exposing them to certain things, like I still remember one day walking into my kid's room, and Desiree was very protective of Elijah. And she has him in between her legs, and she's covering his ears and holding his head to her chest. She didn't care that she was taking the brunt of everything or hearing this, right? But I think that was one of, like, my moments. Like, okay, you got to get out of this. And I started working towards that. And then my second epiphany, so they say, is I ended up with 2 black eyes. And my mother-in-law at the time was like, you got to come to the house. You got to come eat. It's Sunday. You guys always come. And I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. Because I literally had like 2 black eyes. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go. So I go over there. I take the kids, settle them in. I have my glasses on. I take my glasses off. And when I turn around, the question was, what did you do to my son for him to do that to you? Right? And at that moment, I was like, wow, I cannot believe that I just heard this.
Yeah.
And I just said no. So did what I got to do, did what I had to do, did what I know best, and got some money together, and, like, took my kids, didn't care about nothing else. And I lived very well. I can say that I lived very, very well financially. But I walked away from it all. Just with my little bit of dignity, my kids, and that was in the clothes that we had on our back. And
where'd you go?
Out of all places, to my mom. And what was crazy was my ex-husband was so controlling that I really didn't have a relationship with my mom. And it was embarrassing for me to have to stoop myself down to now come to her like.
But did she turn you away?
No.
She took you in?
Yeah.
Did she say anything when you took her, when she took you in though?
Well, it was more at the time my stepdad. Like, he was crazy about me and my kids. My mom kind of gave a face at first because she was mad and upset with the way she felt I was manipulated. And she felt she was losing out on a relationship with her grandchildren because I was so distant. But a lot of times I was distant because what people don't understand is the family that I come from, too.
Say it.
I think if they
you're
knew,
just holding it back,
it's
like,
just, because if they knew what I was going through.
Yeah. You come from a family that, okay, so this is one of our guests that talk about. We come from the neighborhood where, things, we take care of it ourselves. Why? We don't call the cops for things because the cops aren't going to do anything for us. No. So it's taken care of within family, within ourselves. They don't care if you got to go to jail and death. It's
no different.
It's not
where we come from.
Where we come from, it's something that it's the either or, especially for men, that either you're going to go to jail or you're going to die at a very young age. So that's what she's reluctant to say, because if she would tell them what was happening, she was afraid that her own family was going to
Retaliate
against them, and she didn't want her own family to go to jail because of him.
No, or just hurt anybody, and like that's not, it's not the ultimate way to fix things, right? I believe in God, so I know you reap what you sow eventually. And things.
So your family never knew that he was doing this to you?
Oh no, not till this day.
Well, now they're gonna know if they listen to this.
Yeah, well, no, not till this day. I am very, again, protective, private, whatever you want to call it. And you and I have had these conversations about protecting our exes, right? Like not saying certain things.
Not only just protecting our exes, but protecting the abusers.
Right.
So it's not just exes; it's just abusers. Period.
But yeah, I mean, it's just it's hard to talk about these things. It's hard to open up. I mean, and then I reflect on again that comment of what did you do? You know, the fact that someone can just be so blind. In the end of the day, if my son ever, I'll lock him up myself. Why? Because I raised him to respect. Like, you respect
But the
women.
mentality of the women, the older women too, in our neighborhood, you don't know what she went through with his dad too.
True.
Not to put people's business out there, but you know, we don't know. I mean, I knew somewhat, but we don't know what other people have gone through. So we witnessed a lot in the neighborhood of men abusing women.
Absolutely.
Physically, mentally, in each and every way, sexually.
They were so narcissistic where we come from. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Real narcissistic.
So that is where you and I talk about it. Like, we didn't know how to love properly because we thought that this was love and it wasn't.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I did go to therapy, as you know, and it was one of the first things she said to me. Like, she said, you take so much abuse because it's home for you. And I said, what? And she said, you got this from your mother. Maybe not so much your dad, because my dad would let my mom extend the hand.
Yeah,
right?
but did you ever witness your father beating your mom? Well, I don't want to say it like that, but abusing your mom?
Right before they got divorced. And I think that was like her moment.
So you
so
seen
just
it
like
from
mine. Like,
yeah, you've seen it from that abuse too. You witnessed that abuse. So seeing that and thinking that's what love's supposed to be, a man's supposed to beat a woman. Like, I witnessed my dad hit my mom. And I remember, the only thing I can honestly remember is my mom being on the floor and my dad being on top of her and hitting her. I never said that to my mom. I never said it to my dad, but that's the only time I can ever remember that happening. I don't know. I understand that from what my uncle said, that he was very abusive with my mom and he's broken her nose and did this, all that stuff. But I was too small to remember any of it.
right.
I just remember that one instance. And as I got older, and I only was in one physical abusive relationship. That was only once. He smacked the crap out of me once and then never happened again. But that's because my aunt intervened and he came and threw like a brick through my window. I lived with my aunt at that time, and he threw a brick through our window, and she was like, this is not happening. Right. We're putting a restraining order on him, and then he left back to Puerto Rico after that. So my aunt was like, it's not happening because she went through it, and she was like, I refuse to witness you go through it.
Oh, absolutely. And you don't want to see that, you know, and I think now that we're talking, I'm reflecting, right? Because I remember a lot of things. Even though I was so young, like, you're like, damn, I was little. Like, why would I even remember that, right? You disassociate. You try not. You push things to the back of your mind. But then stuff comes forward. But also, the dangerous people are my mom's brothers.
The way you said
right?
it, dangerous people.
So, it's like she hid.
Yeah, she hid a lot of
what
stuff from
my
them.
father was doing to her. To also not. So now that I think about it, you know, now that we've actually said this out loud, is that why I also felt that, hey, you don't talk about it.
But I don't think it's just that. I think it was our neighborhood. You don't talk about anything that happens. You were taught whatever's going on behind closed doors, it stays behind closed doors. That was just the mentality from, I don't know if it's the mentality everywhere else, but I know that was the mentality there.
Right. And I think for me too, it was like, I wouldn't talk about a bed that I was ready to leave, if that makes sense, because I'm not going to sit there and be anyone's entertainment.
Right.
At all.
Yeah.
Like, we were well known. We had our business. We also, where we worked was very kind of high scale. So I wasn't going to put my business out there. Not at all. And I had to protect my kids. So with that, I just dealt with what I had to deal with, and you move on. If you didn't see me for a couple of days, maybe it was because I couldn't come outside. I'd rather take vacation time. Nobody needed to know. They probably thought I was on some fancy ass vacation, and I'm at home with an ice pack on my face. Like no. But I'm here.
Yeah. So with that, I know I might get in trouble for these types of questions, but
Okay.
With that being said, with knowing you went through that stuff in your past, why do you tend to be attracted to that still?
So,
Not in the physical abuse aspect, but in the aspect of you put yourself in predicaments where you're still not shown the proper love, and you're still trying to fight for that love.
and when you say that, because not really in a relationship wise.
I'm not talking about that one. I was talking about the one prior.
Okay, yeah.
This one you're struggling with, though. But
Well, the one prior, I would say, yeah, no, you're right. And you think that you can fix a situation by saying, hey, you're not going to talk to me like that. You're not going to treat me that way. You're not going to, but then you leave it and a week goes by and then they butter you up and I'm not going to talk to you like that again. And then it happens again. And you find yourself now in this vicious cycle of forgiveness, right? But what people don't realize, or what we have to realize, is that with every I'm sorry is supposed to come change.
yeah,
Right? Because if not, then they're empty words. But at the moment when you're sitting in that, and I think more so for a lot of women, or maybe just me, it's the you don't want to feel like, fuck, again, I failed
again.
Right?
I don't honestly.
And really, you're failing yourself.
No, but I honestly think I don't know if it was the struggle that you had with your dad. I don't know if he was 100% in your life or in and out, and the one that was around was your grandfather.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. We try to figure it out, you and I, but I always tell you, you try to get with, or not try, but you end up attracting the people that need of you. And broken people need of you, as opposed to someone that doesn't need you but wants you, and you shy away from those type of people.
Right.
So you have a lot of healing to do. And my biggest thing is, with me healing with a lot of the stuff, is like, okay, these young girls are looking at me and I'm an example for them.
Right.
So if at any point I'm giving them advice about a significant other, but yet I'm not walking in that same path, how can I give them any advice?
Right.
So that backfires on you a lot.
Absolutely, it does. It does. And I think, and even though I'm not in the situation anymore, right? It's still brought to my attention. Well, like, what if when you did that, and it's cool. Like, yeah, I need that sometimes. You need to have somebody give you that reflection Because it's your path, you've walked it, and I stood in there. What is it that they say? Them red flags looking kind of peak right now.
Right. There was a lot of red flags,
Yeah,
but you were trying to. Okay, so us women, we tend to, and I want to do this another podcast to like relationships and stuff.
We're nurturers.
We're nurturers, just by nature, but we want to fix that person. Mm-hmm. And you tend to fix people. They come to you, you fix them, and then I don't know what it is. You're just like, okay, I don't want them anymore, or whatever it is. Whatever it is. But then when there's a person that comes into your life and they got their shit together, or they want to give you and they want to treat you like a princess, and I'm guilty because when they want to treat me like a princess, I'm like, what's that? Right? We're running because we don't know that. So with all of that, what I'm trying to get to is there was a question that a friend of mine posted on Facebook. I'm going to read it so that way I don't, mess up the question. But I had told him that I wasn't going to answer it on there, that I was going to answer it on a podcast. So he was like, okay, I can't wait to hear. So let me bring it up, because I was like, this is so good, because you and I can relate to this big time. It says reasons why men find strong women intimidating. He posted that and he said, there's no such thing as being intimidated by a strong woman. Their only lack of femininity, I said that wrong, but that we dislike is a huge turnoff. That's a big and always misunderstood subject. We're not intimidated by any status. We rather just not deal with a wannabe male personality. There's only room for one male in a relationship. You and I could relate to that. Absolutely. I was seeing that and I was like, I literally said, that's a great podcast subject. Stay tuned for the answer. He said, nice. I can't wait. Because my fingers wanted to type away.
She would have wrote something this big.
So with that being said.
But I think too, you like me, one of the things is that we were like the only kind of girl surrounded by all these men. Mm-hmm. And they exposed us to certain things that I used to, girl, you already know. Mofo come trying to run some game. I'm like, bro.
But because we were taught by a bunch of men.
Were.
Which, that's the thing. But my answer to that question is, I can be in my feminine energy as long as I feel safe in that masculine energy. Correct. If you're not helping me feel safe, then you're not going to get that feminine out of me at all. So with you going through all of the stuff that you went through, it was a battle because a lot of men want to have that control over women and come at me differently. Don't come at me, hitting me or telling me what to do. I can give you that respect without you having to be so dominant over me in that type of way.
So if we had to speak in just other terms, right? Because there's a lot of men who know the Bible, mm-hmm. and they want a Proverbs 31 wife, but they're mm-hmm. not willing to be, prior to that, go a couple chapters back. You know what I'm saying? Like, mm-hmm. it's going to tell you the type of man you need to be,
right,
in order for your woman mm-hmm. to be submissive. Mm-hmm. Because if I have to wear multiple hats and one of them is picking up some of your slack, mm-hmm. then hell yeah, I'm going to step into my masculine energy. Mm-hmm. And I know I could get shit done.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I say, especially in the relationship, in any relationship I've ever been in, really, they all can tell you that I've always been a go-getter, overachiever, all of that. So with the relationship I am in right now, can I go to him and ask him for anything? I'm sure I can, and he'll give me whatever it is that I want with 1,001 questions. But him and I had talked about it too. Do I feel safe in his presence when he's here with me? Of course. But it took some time to get there. But he showed me that we can go out and I feel safe with him. Right. So when we're out, I can be in my feminine energy because I know he's in his masculine and I'm straight when I'm with him. Also, that I know if I need financially, he got my back. I don't need to worry about anything in that aspect with him. That's where I can be that feminine.
Right.
But if I have to work my ass off, come home, see you laying up on the sofa doing nothing, yeah, I'm going to be in my masculine energy. Why didn't you cook me a meal? I'm bringing home that bacon, so you should be cooking it. So things like that, men don't realize that we have no other choice. Right. But I also was raised by a single mom, so she taught me how to be in that masculine energy. I also have my brother. My brother wanted me to be a boy, so he wanted me to do everything boys do. But I know you do it because that was one of the complaints for you, that you wanted to be the man of the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like, and I think one of my things is like, it's hard for me to be submissive because I have handled a lot on my own, starting at a very young age, right? Very young. Just having to do what I needed to do to take care of me. So, yeah, there was a point where I would be like, well, gone. Oh, this ain't gonna work, gone. I don't need you. You know, and people would say, man, what I admire the most about you is like, you give no shits, you'll get up, you'll walk away, you don't care, you'll drop and keep it moving. But is that really a good trait or quality?
I think it's a good trait because you know what? That means I'm secure in who I am as an individual. And when I was in my past relationship, there was some insecurity because he wanted to instill that in me. But at a point, I went ahead and walked away, and I was okay with walking away because I can walk away with nothing and build it all right back. And you've done it several times yourself. Yeah. So that's why and I tell my boyfriend now, I don't need you in my life. I want you in my life. Right. When people say, oh, you're a feminist, I'm not a feminist because so probably to a certain extent, but I love my gender roles. I don't want to throw out garbage. So if my man comes, and we're long distance, you know that, he comes from Chicago to Florida and throws out my garbage, thank you, baby, because I don't like throwing out my garbage. And then going to the gas station, if he pumps my gas, my feminine energy is right there because he's pumping my gas. But I'm secure. Like, I don't need you to pay for my gas, but yeah, get out the car and pump my gas for me.
Oh, yeah.
But he pays for it.
I mean, and just like me, they open the door and I'm like, is my hand broken? You know, and I shouldn't be that way. Like,
oh, he doesn't open my door.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We talked about that though. But my handles are
but I
in
have
anyways.
Told you a couple times, like, who are you? You're so girly now.
But it wasn't him. My girliness came from me healing.
Absolutely.
And that's where I flourished more with being in that feminine energy. But him and I have talked about, you're still in your masculine, but I have to be because majority of the times I'm by myself. Right. So I still pay my own bills. I still, run my business. I still have to be in the streets. So if I have to, we can conceal carry here, guys. So if I'm walking around late at night, I'm gonna be carrying all that stuff. So yes, people look at it as in a masculine energy, but I have to take care of myself. My man's not here to take care of me, but when he is here, he gives me that feeling of safetyness that I can give him that energy, that feminine energy. And there's times that I'm like, it was hard in the beginning, but now it's easing for me. But I've never had, I could say I've been more feminine in this relationship than I ever have in any other. Right. But it's because he's provided me that safety.
A safety net, absolutely. And he stepped up to a role that you're not used to. Yeah. Which we've discussed multiple times.
Mm-hmm. And it has nothing to do with financial.
No.
It has nothing to do with that. It's just
being a man.
Being a man. There's an energy there. There's an energy that sometimes he tries to I don't want to say check me because we don't talk like that with one another, but when he raises his tone of voice, I'm like, ooh.
Stay in your lane.
Right. I
assume your position. Like, I'm the man, you're the woman. It should be a partnership.
Uh-huh.
I shouldn't be better than you. You're better than me. Let's walk this life together side by side. Mm-hmm. No one's above, no one's underneath, right? Or behind.
But there's one that it just came is that the biggest factor there is that I respect him as a man.
Right.
And if I don't respect him, then my feminine energy is never going to come out.
Not going to be there.
So I do look at him, I do respect him, and I also find that I can learn from him a lot as well. So if I don't have that, then that feminine energy is never going to come out. So if you're not proving to her that you can lead, that she can respect you as a man, and that you can provide safety for her, her feminine energy is never going to come out for you.
No, it's not.
So I hope you got your answer. Because I know he watches it. So,
Awesome.
but with all of that, you did go through the whole journey. You and I have talked about your career path and all of that. And, you know, I always tell you that you play very small. So her first career in life was, you know, the street salesperson, and she can sell. Although she's shy on camera, she's a very big people person. And I've always been the shy one when we're out, and she's the one that's very talkative. So I tell her she's good at selling and putting things out there and speaking to people. She just has that. But she plays small, and she feels like she can't go for a job that she doesn't have 100% of the qualifications. And you know what I found when I heard something that they said, if you have 100% of the qualifications, it's because you're overqualified for that job.
Right.
You need to go after a job that shows 60% of your qualifications, and that's the job that you need to go after.
Recently, I'm trying to change jobs and do my thing, and they were saying I'm overqualified, and I'm like, how the hell, right? Like, how the hell?
And I mean, because you are.
Yeah. I'm like, what? And this job that I'm at now, it's like I told you, I was surprised. Like I've been there short time. They have me training this man, and then I come to find out on Monday, like he's gonna be my manager. And he's like, hey, I'm so glad I got a veteran on my team. I was like, did they tell you how long I've been here? Like, I am not a veteran.
But I told you, you're a veteran in the industry. Doesn't mean that the systems are different, yes, but you know what you're doing.
Right.
So it comes down from back to our childhood. That's why I like to go back to where it started, because we don't realize it just festers from there.
Yeah.
You yesterday said, my mother never acknowledged my accomplishments.
Right.
So you don't acknowledge your own accomplishments. That's where the pattern is at. So that's why you playing small, you have to heal from everything that's happened in the past. And I've done it. Like I had to, the book especially, I wrote that book. Put everything out there. I put everything out there in that book to help me heal, so that way I can overcome everything that's ever held me back. So now I want you to be able to do it, because if I ask you, do you feel successful today? What is your answer?
I usually tell you no. Like, no, I don't feel. And you know, going back to the men, every man I've built a business for and then walked away, like, you know, and we've talked, like, if you could do that for them, you can do it for yourself, and you can be so much more than what you are, right? But then when it comes to me, I'm afraid, like I'm sitting on the diving board and I won't jump in the pool, right?
You're your biggest enemy.
Yeah.
You're holding yourself back from greatness that I be telling you and stop, and you don't listen to me. So maybe the end of the year is coming pretty soon. Maybe you need to put that as a goal. So that way you can, I want to hear you say, yes, Janell, I feel successful. Because that's one of the questions that I ask everyone on the podcast. Do you feel successful? And success is your own definition of it.
Oh, absolutely.
So I know you're just like, oh, I know, what was it? We had this conversation. You said something about, your house or whatever. I was like, you own your house, Nina. Like, you have a house, you own it. Be happy. Not everybody can ever say that they've ever bought a house.
Yeah.
Especially where we come from. Like, we come from just apartments.
Well, from my inner household, besides my grandparents, I'm the only one who has purchased a home. So yeah, that is an accomplishment, right? But you don't see it like that at the moment. And especially when you get to a certain place in life and you're so used to leading, you have hands, just a bunch of them. Just you turn around, and then when you need a hand, even if it's just to hold, there's not one,
Yeah.
right? So it just makes you feel like
Where you're saying that is that the fact that when we get to where we get to coming from where we come from, and then we get ourselves out of that and we become successful, whether it's monetary, most of the time, even if it's not monetary, people see that, oh, she's doing something, she got money, so now everybody wants a handout. So it's very hard when we're around that type of environment, because if you don't go and hand this out, then either you're a sellout or names are called.
now.
You're bougie or whatever it is. So I had to overcome that, and I'm sure you did. But you still house a lot of people. You still help a lot of people. Yeah. And I tell you, you need to stop doing that. But you don't listen to me. One day you'll figure that out. But I had to say no. I had to set those boundaries, so that way I can be able to flourish. And now I do want to give back, but I had to be able to spread my wings and flourish and be able to do what I needed to do before I kept on handing it out to everybody else before I even got there.
And really quick, I think a lot of that for me, I was around a lot of dysfunction, but the two biggest role models in my life of like the epitome of perfection until I became older and I found out otherwise, that my grandfather was not such a saint as I thought he was. Because my grandmother kind of threw it out there. But I did look at my uncles and my mom and my aunt, and I'm like, how is it that you guys are who you are or are not today when they had such stand-up parents? Like, my grandmother was just a woman of almost damn near perfection, close to it, as close as possible, because I know nobody's perfect, right? She must have had some type of flaw. And my grandfather was just such an honorable man. And everything that I know, like, I've done a lot of fuckery in my life, but the good part of me and the nourishing part of me and the part of me that knows how to treat people with respect. Walk into a room, and I don't care if you're the janitor or the woman scrubbing the toilet, I'm going to give you the same respect as the person who probably owns the building. Why? Because they instilled that in me, right? And just being just so good to people, and never denying anyone a plate of food or looking at them less than. And then I look at their kids, and I'm just like, what the hell happened?
I mean, that's a whole different type of podcast that we will have to dive in and be like, what happens to him? But
I will say they, thankfully that I did have them, because they did teach me to be this person that I am today.
So with that, I think you can say you're successful in that aspect.
Yeah.
Remember, you define your own success.
Right.
It's not success in the standards of the world or anybody else, because, I mean, someone that's a millionaire may look at me and be like, oh, she's not successful.
Right.
But someone that comes from where we're at and looks up at me, they're like, damn, she's made it. She got out of here. She's still alive.
And like you tell me all the time, I went through my childhood abuse. Molestation, sexual abuse, seeing people literally get murdered in front of me, on top of me, right? And we thought that was normal. And just now realizing that, damn, I don't take a Xanax. I don't take any type of medication to function.
You know what? You just said it, like, right now, watching someone die in front of you or getting murdered, and I, like, the reaction that I gave you is no reaction. And I think someone would have...
We are callous.
Right. But like, what? You've actually went... It's just something that's where we come from is it was something normal to experience. If you didn't experience, that was the abnormality.
Yeah. Like, how did you not live life without, without experiencing that, right? So
I think for our next podcast, I'm sure I'll bring you back. I need to hear you say, yes, I feel successful. So that is the goal for you to come back and say, now I feel 100% successful. And whatever it is, you're going to have to define it however you want to define it. Yeah. But I want to be able to hear that from you that, yes, Janell, I feel successful.
I may feel semi-accomplished.
No, you're going to say, I feel successful.
No, I'm talking about right now. But
okay.
We'll see. We'll see from here to there.
I looked down and I was just like, you know what? This is feminine energy. I have my boyfriend's t-shirt on. See, I'm a kind of girl. I'm a kind of girly girl.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
So before we go, is there anything that you would want to share? Whether it's advice for someone that has gone through what we've gone through and trying to make it to be successful, anything, any advice that you want to give?
I think
any message.
More so, yes, we are our worst enemies, but looking within yourself and finding that inner strength. Sometimes we don't realize that little bit will pull you, no matter what it is, whatever you think about. I mean, I've mentioned to you before, I look around this world and these kids and the youth and what we live in, and everybody thinks that suicide is such a big thing and having suicidal thoughts, and because they don't look like this model on TV or they're being bullied, right? And I told you, no matter how low I was in life, the one thing I never felt was that my life was not worth living, right? So I think for me, it would be like, if you're here, it's with a purpose, and don't ever feel that your life is not worth living. It is. And it's what you make of it, and it's beautiful. And a lot of times, our own choices are what puts us in situations that we're in. So if we made the choice to get in this situation that's not serving us, what are we going to do to make it better and get out of that and do something that's worthy?
So don't have excuses for yourself. Get out of it and move forward.
Absolutely.
That's basically what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, remember, when you start acting crazy, I'm going to play this episode back. We're like, did you hear yourself? Mm-hmm. Yes, but thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you guys for tuning in and listening to us on podcast and watching us on YouTube. Please, please, please like, share, subscribe, and review. Reviews I am reading, and so that I can know what's going on and bring a new series the next year. But thank you for tuning in. Bye.
Bye.